Hello, everyone. This is Sparkle On with Davy Jags. Sparkle is your happiness, passion, and self-worth, and nothing can dim your light. Today, I was introduced to Jason Hancock because of Natasha, who you previously heard on the Sparkle On podcast. One of my favorite episodes, legendary makeup artist and founder of Natasha Moore Cosmetics.
She's so awesome.
Yes, I love when mutual creatives come together, and you were able to make it work today because you are in town from Japan.
Yes.
So this is like very exciting.
And this is my first time in LA.
Oh,
So
I didn't know that.
I'm experiencing so many things for the first time.
Oh yeah, this is a very LA experience.
I
You're
love
in a
it.
studio.
I love it. I mean, color me pink. I love it.
So Jason is the CEO and founder of Special Beauty, which is an extraordinary mission. You know that everything about the Sparkle On movement is about missions and honestly changing the world. So Special Beauty is a pageant hosted in Japan, one of a kind that elevates youth with special needs,
Yes.
specifically around autism and Down syndrome,
Yes.
helping them literally find their shine. So very great alignment there. So,
Yes. Well, so Special Beauty is basically a place for special needs youth to shine
yeah.
and to feel special and to feel beautiful. And what's interesting is that if you give someone a place to shine, they will do it.
Yeah.
And in Japan, it wasn't as commonly believed that youth with special needs would have these abilities, but I'm just gave them the space to do it. And every year we see miracles and it's so much fun.
Yeah. And so you even wrote on your website that like you don't even have family members that are autistic or have Down syndrome. How did you come to discover that this was kind of your purpose and what you wanted to do with your career and also life?
Well, that's a good question. Like you said, I don't have any family members. Many people who are allies and advocates for the special needs community are family members of the special needs community.
Right.
I don't have that. And I was on my way to America once on the airplane, and I was watching all the TV shows and stuff, and I had seen all the episodes of Friends. I had seen all the episodes of Big Bang Theory, and I still had like 9 hours left before I got to America. Mm-hmm. And in the documentaries, there was one that just seemed interesting. So I watched it, and it was about a similar pageant for girls with special needs. And I was so impressed that I committed myself on the plane to find the Japan pageant and become a volunteer because I just wanted to be a part of the magic. And when I got back to Japan after my vacation, I found two things. Number one, that there wasn't a program like that in Japan at the time. Mm-hmm. And number two, I was shocked and disappointed and grossly offended by the traditional way that youth with special needs were treated in Japan. And I did not agree with it at all. And so I thought, no, youth with special needs do not need to be hidden. Why does anyone need to be hidden?
Right.
Shine on. Like, let's
Sparkle on.
Sparkle on. So I kind of fought the system and made it happen. I would go to like the city office to get my business off the ground, to get my business like licenses and everything ready. And they'd be like, oh, yeah, this is going to be difficult.
Wow.
And I would say, okay. And in Japanese, saying something's difficult is kind of their polite way of saying no.
Interesting.
But I didn't take it as a no.
Yeah.
I just took it as the challenge, like bring it on. And that was 10 years ago.
And what was that like? Because you're not a Japanese native. So did it feel like you were kind of dealing with obviously cultural differences, but then it was like you also weren't from there. Like what was that experience for you?
So I was actually able to plead ignorance for a lot of it.
Okay.
Because I think that if a Japanese person was attempting something like this and was told by the city office, like, yeah, this is going to be difficult, they probably would have taken that as a no and given up. But for me, when they would say, oh, it's difficult, I would say, yeah. So can you go ahead and fill out this form, please? Can you sign my form so I can get my license? So I can get this going, and they'd be like, well, it's never been done before, which is another way for Japanese people to say no. And I said, exactly, we're going to be the first in Japan to do it. And just kind of my ignorance was my way of navigating around the red tape that I was having to go through.
And I think sometimes the word ignorance has a negative connotation, but I have found a lot of times when talking to creative people, the ignorance and almost like, I guess, childlike behavior is what kind of opens these doors to this new pathway that ends up creating the most impact.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering if that framing is actually a great way to start, because I'm curious. You said that when you were on the plane, you just had this moment where you were like, you were very committed to doing this.
Yes.
And it started in a volunteer capacity, but then you wanted to do it yourself because it didn't exist. Was there something going on at that point of your life where you felt so, because like you can watch any documentary and feel called to it, but that doesn't mean you actually continue with creating that action. Like,
or commit to it.
Exactly. Like,
Yeah.
well, how did you stick around for that?
Yeah.
Was there something that like, that really lit you up that like this was your calling, or there was a void that you were trying to fill from another part of your life?
Well, at the time I was on a daily morning show for Japan. So imagine, any daily show, national daily show in America. Now I was on the Japanese equivalent of that. And so I was enjoying kind of this time in my career where I was being recognized for what I was doing. I was in the public's eye. It was a lot of fun and people knew who I was. And it was just kind of this, every career has like its fun moments. And this was one of those really fun moments. And then kind of I saw the documentary, and I was like, I'm going to do that. And then what happened was, in the span of 10 days, the TV show that I was on recast. They recast every 2 to 4 years.
Okay.
They recast, and when that happens, not everyone is recast. They keep some and they lose some, and I was one of the casualties. And so I was no longer a regular on this daily TV show after 3 years. And then my agency that I was working with at the time, they said, well, if you're not on that show, we really don't have a way to market you, so we're done. And then my mother passed away. So in the span of 10 days, I lost my job, I lost my connection to work, and then I lost my mother. So I had my whole world turn completely upside down. And I let myself have a pity party for a couple of weeks. I let myself feel the emotions of what I was going through. And then I pulled myself up and I was like, this is actually a great time, because for the past year plus, I have been having this idea of special beauty in my mind, wanting to do it, but I haven't done it because of this project, that project, this project. And all of a sudden, I found myself with time. I had time. And so I would go to the gym for maybe 3 hours a day. And then from the gym, I would go to this cafe that was right next to the gym that was quiet. And I would sit there with my laptop and just type up like a press release and a schedule, and maybe kind of, if I was interviewed by a magazine or a newspaper, what would I say? And I was just at a cafe every day for probably 4 or 5 hours, just typing up all these things. And what would my volunteer application look like? What would my participant application look like? And I was just, every day I would do these if-then situations and make things. And I was doing it in both languages. And some things were easier to type out in Japanese, and some things were easier to type out in English, then translate into Japanese. And so I just was in the midst of getting really excited about the possibility of this pageant. And then there was a horrible massacre that occurred in Japan. There was a care facility that housed some special needs people. Many of them were nonverbal, and an ex-worker let himself in to the facility and stabbed to death 20-some patients, residents of this place. And if you think about it, those people were awoken with this pain of someone stabbing them, and then seeing the face of someone that they knew, and then that person knowing that they can't speak or call for help, and then him killing them. So he killed 20 some people before he got caught, which is horrible. It's absolutely horrible. My heart goes out to everyone affected by those residents. But here's the thing that really caught me on fire. Not one single name of the victims was ever publicized. Not one.
Oh my God.
It was like 21-year-old boy, 22-year-old female, 23-year-old female, 24-year-old male. And they're not to go overboard, but say their names for crying out loud. They have a life. They just because they can't speak doesn't mean they don't have something to say. Just because they can't run and jump and dance doesn't mean they don't want to. Just because they don't tell you about their dreams doesn't mean they don't have dreams. And so I really made that kind of the fuel for my fire. And I was like, I have got to do this.
Yeah.
Because special needs youth, special needs young adults, special needs adults deserve the chance to shine. And so I took it upon myself to do it. I came to Tokyo with the intent of, to be Simba in Lion King. I came to Tokyo to be Simba. And I did my postgraduate in musical dance theater preparing to be Simba. And long story short, I never became Simba, but I did enjoy a lot of success in some amazing shows on TV, on stage, and being in the spotlight and feeling like a star and being on the magazine, being on TV. I knew what that felt like and how amazing that confidence comes from feeling like you look amazing and like you're, in front of people. And I wanted special needs youth to feel that.
Yeah.
To know how it feels to feel beautiful, to feel special, to feel like a star. And so when this massacre happened, I was like, that's it. I will not rest until youth are on stage shining. And I was able to make some very auspicious, very beautiful contacts, people who had values that aligned with mine and who were also on the same page about let's make this happen, even though it had never happened before. And it was just me talking about these ideas. Like, here's what I envision. And I was able to meet people who were also on board. They're like, that sounds awesome. Yeah, let's go for it. The biggest beauty school in Japan is the Imano Beauty College. It's a 90-some year history, a legacy of the beauty industry in Japan. She was one of the first one. Her name is Jane Yamano. She was the first one to be like, yeah, my students, yes, I will give you my students as hair and makeup artists. And then please use my theater. And then that introduction led to another introduction. And before I knew it, I was on my first special beauty.
I mean, I'm stunned because you went from, finding this documentary to the unimaginable happening and just that fire being ignited more and more and more. And I also found it very interesting that the scenario that you, as an individual, that you created, that if-then scenario, it almost sounded like a manifestation tool that you implemented in your life to be able to achieve this event to happen. I'm wondering, because your background is so interesting as far as you knew what it was like to feel that confident on stage. You knew that it was possible without all the other stereotypes of beauty pageants, right? We have the ones that they're super toxic, they ruin women, but then if you actually talk to some of the women that have competed, they say it's the most empowering experience of their life.
Yeah.
And so it's it has this weird duality. How have you made sure that when you've created this mission and this movement, that you've been able to do that, serving those young girls, that it's that transformative experience?
Well, I believe that beauty is not gender specific. Mm-hmm. So when I started, my original idea was to kind of mimic the documentary and have it for girls. But when I approached these organizations in Tokyo, and I said, I'm having this contest, the boys were super interested. They're like, I want to do that.
Aw.
That sounds fun. And I thought, yeah, beauty is not gender specific. So
Yeah.
absolutely, of course. And it's been kind of that, like, let's try it out. Let's go for it. It's been that kind of mentality that has helped me, because when someone has an idea, sometimes my first thought is, no, I hate that. That's going to be awful. But my mind is like, but then my voice says, let's give it a try and see what happens. And then I have to like eat my own thoughts and think and realize like, okay, that was a really good idea. And that was great. But manifesting this, kind of putting it out there, I did envision in my mind, I saw what it looked like. And I saw myself putting in the hard work. I saw myself meeting the youth. I saw myself, meeting people and talking to sponsors and trying to get funding and trying to get people to get on board. I saw myself doing the work. I also saw the end result in my mind. I saw what it was going to look like, but I also envisioned myself in the process. So visually, I know visualization is a huge part of my own like personal growth, but like seeing myself put in the work, seeing myself succeed. And when I was sitting in the cafe with all these if-then situations, it was like, what if someone approaches me and says, you are exploiting these youth. They don't need to be made fun of. No one's making fun of anyone. This is a safe space. Mm-hmm. Do they sound like an opera singer? Maybe not. Maybe. In their minds, they're on the stage. In their minds, they're having the experience that an opera singer has.
Right.
So who are you to take that away from them? Mm-hmm. You can't take that away from them. So we are supportive of everyone. And so when parents say, my kid, they just don't, and I'm like, okay, we'll take them. We don't worry about it. And part of the pageant is, of course, the question and answer period. Mm-hmm. And the question has been the same for all 10 years. What is your dream? And when they apply, when they register for the event, we ask them what their dream is. And then on the day of the show, or when we're in rehearsals, we double check with the participant and we say, what is your dream? What do you, and their dreams change pretty often, which is fine. My dreams have shifted over the years. And so one of the things I'm really passionate about is making sure that we say what their dream is. So for example, they say, I want to be an airplane, a pilot. I want to be a pilot. But in their mind, they're saying, my dream is to become a pilot. But what the microphone is hearing and what the audience is hearing is ba 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 ba. Because not everyone can be articulate. Not everyone is articulate. So we make sure that the MCs follow up.
Okay.
And say, I think you're going to be a great pilot. And we make sure that participant's dream is known to everybody.
Oh, I love that.
So I really, when I am approached with negativity, I do what I can to show that we're not exploiting anybody, that we're actually just giving someone a place to shine. And even though you may feel embarrassed for them because, oh my gosh, they don't walk like a supermodel, but they're on the runway. In their mind, they are walking like a supermodel.
Yeah.
So don't project your negativity or your whatever you have on them. Let them have their moment, and we're giving them their moment.
Yeah, no, I it's their literal sparkle moment. And,
yes.
And I'm curious to know that, like, sometimes I just think when I was a kid, I was put in sports that I was terrible at. I never really wanted to do, but it's just the act of participating, right?
Yeah.
I read something the other day that was like the percentage of success that you're going to have is actually a lot lower and a lot less common than failure, right? You're going to fail an exorbitant amount, right? But the thing that matters is the process is the actual transformation, right?
Yes,
so the
yes.
transformation of going through a pageant program. But what do you do when you have kids that are just really resistant to this program, how does it still help them find what their dream is?
Well, I think that, everyone who participates in special beauty has a different experience. Someone may come and they are there to get that crown. They want that sash and they want the title. And they're there for that. Some of them are there because their friend is there. Some of them are there because their mom was like, oh, that looks fun. Let's try it out.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, they come to special beauty and we're okay with that. And we don't have the same expectations for everyone. We just hope that everyone has a good time.
Right.
That's all we can hope for. And so we do as a team, if someone is being resistant, we let them resist. Like, all right, so you don't want to do this? All right, you have a seat here. We're going to do it. You have a seat. And if you want to join us, go ahead. If you're good watching, then please cheer us on. And we don't force them to do anything. We did one last year in Kansas City, and we had this girl who she didn't want to participate in the workshops. She didn't want to stand on the stage. She didn't want to, nope. Everything was like, no. And they were like, it's lunchtime. And she's like, okay, lunchtime. Yeah, I want lunchtime. But she didn't want to do the workshops. She didn't want to learn where to walk on the stage. She didn't want to learn how to walk on the stage. She didn't want to answer the question. Nothing. She was, nope. But then at lunch, she got to chat with her buddy, who is her hair and makeup artist.
Oh, cool.
And they just became, friends, talking about whatever. And then she's like, you would look great in this lipstick. Can I put this lipstick on you? And she's like, okay. And so she had lipstick on. And then she's like, can I put your hair up? And she was like, okay. Put her hair up. And then it was time for the show. And her buddy was like, you look so great. Oh my gosh, look at you. And she's like, okay, come with me and let's watch the other people. And she's like, okay. And then when it was her turn, her buddy was like, what do you think? And she's like, I'm ready. Even though she had never walked the course on stage in rehearsals, she had never learned where to stand, 1, 2, 3, 4 on the stage, where to go. She owned the runway. There was an audience full of her friends and family from the community, and she shined. And I was like, where was this girl this morning when we were in workshops? I didn't even recognize her because she had her hair and makeup done. She was in a different outfit. And then it was question and answer period. And same thing. In rehearsals, she's like, nope, nope. In the show, she took the microphone from me and she goes, hi, I have lots of dreams. My first dream is to, and we were like, yay. And it's kind of the magic of special beauty that happens. And we have youth every single time. We have miracles every single time. We call it the special beauty miracle. I believe that, like I said, my mother passed away before special beauty happened. And so I believe that special beauty is surrounded by miracles and angels. And every time, every special beauty, I feel like we are having help from angels and from just sources that we can't see. Because these youth, they are just, it's so much fun to watch them shine.
Well, I think it's a real testament to what happens when community comes together, because I say this all the time on the podcast, but the number one thing that you learn in domestic violence training is that when you can't tell someone to leave an unhealthy relationship, you can only empower them with the tools to succeed. And what happens when you bring community together, especially from everyone comes from a different narrative. They can have alignment in many different ways, but everyone has their own story to tell. Mm-hmm. And the act, in my mind, leadership is sometimes just showing up as the best version that you can be, and others kind of follow. That's how community is formed, right? So special beauty is already this powerhouse community, but when you have these two kids and one being like, well, why don't we try the makeup because everyone is trying it, and seeing that kind of ripple effect, to me, that's what creates real lasting impact.
Yeah.
But it also prepares, in this case, a kid to take that mic when they're ready, because you can't force it. And everyone has their own timeline and journey for when they decide they're ready to shine.
Yeah. I agree. And it's really interesting because everyone has their own story and everyone has their own experience. And all we can do is kind of sit back and watch it happen. Right. And there's also some unlikely relationships that come about from special beauty. So like I said, we collaborate with a beauty college and the beauty students become the hair and makeup artists, the glam squad, and they're paired one-on-one. So they get their own glam squad who's doing their hair and makeup. And when in training, we said, your job, even if they don't look like what you were hoping to get, you know, your hair and makeup, your job is to make them feel that they look amazing. And we really try and ingrain that in them. So fast forward from the first special beauty, about 6 to 8 months later, I was at a dance concert for a dance company, and all the dancers have Down syndrome. And it's so beautiful. They're called Love Junks, and they are just so fun. And I was at this theater, and this young kid came up to me. He goes, Jason, I'm so happy to see you. And I was like, hi, who are you? And which is not too uncommon for me in Japan for people to recognize me and say,
right.
Oh my gosh, I've seen you on TV or I've seen you on stage or whatever.
Right.
And I was like, oh, great. Do I know you? And I was like, can you remind me how I know you? And he was like, oh, I was a buddy at Special Beauty. And I was like, you were? Oh my gosh, thank you so much. How was your experience? And he was like, it was so much fun. It was just this magical day. It was so meaningful for me to be a makeup artist at Special Beauty. And I was like, great. What are you doing here? And he said, oh, my buddy's dancing. And he messaged me on Instagram for me to come and watch. And so I'm here supporting my buddy.
Aww.
As in the audience. And I had to like fight back the tears. Like, oh my gosh. Like they made a connection during Special Beauty
That's awesome.
that had lasted, that had outlived the day of the show.
Why? I'm sorry. This is now me going into like producer mode. Why is this not a Netflix docuseries?
I'd like to know that myself, if anyone knows.
Okay, we can talk offline about that, but wow.
No, we actually have been in a couple of documentaries and people have followed the story a few times. And so if you look online, there are a few episodes about us.
Yeah, but I'm like, I want to see a Japan version. I want to see
the Hong Kong version, the LA version.
Yeah, all the different versions.
Yeah. Every city has a different flavor.
Yeah.
It's the same formula, but when we do it in Osaka, like the Osaka kids are wild compared to the Tokyo kids. And the Utah kids are different than the Idaho kids. Uh-huh. The Idaho kids are different from the Kansas City kids. So even though it's the same format, every pageant has a different flavor.
And I just want to see the lead up to the competition.
It's so much fun. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
You should come.
I mean, I've never been to Japan. I definitely want to go.
Well, we are actually, the reason I'm here in LA now is to do some footwork for Special Beauty LA.
Oh, amazing.
2026. And so I would love for you to come and be a volunteer. I will put you in a t-shirt and I will put you to work.
Yes, let's do it.
So
I'll bring sparkles.
Yeah. That is what Special Beauty needs, is the sparkle. We need the bling.
Yes.
And the bling
I have
is
so many other like fun people.
Is like, it's like fairy dust.
Yeah. Yes. I'm literally just going to throw it. Like pink sparkles everywhere.
Can't believe it.
I'll just
As
be a fairy.
volunteers, it's a pretty busy day.
Oh, yeah.
The volunteers come, they help set up the venue, the dressing rooms, the makeup artists like go in the dressing rooms, they get their makeup areas get up, ready to go. And then we have the welcome crew and everyone's standing in front of the venue with pom-poms and balloons. And when the youth come in, like, yay! And the kids like, oh my gosh, I just came to a party for me. And then they go in and they say goodbye to their parents. There's no parents allowed. And they say goodbye to their parents and they come into the workshops and the buddies give them their t-shirt. They say, hey, look, we're wearing the same t-shirt. Oh my gosh, we're a team, and high five. And then they do the workshop about the course, where to walk on stage. They did a workshop about how to pose on stage, how to smile. And then we have lunch, we have rehearsals, and then the show. And the parents come back after 5 or 6 hours and they see their kid in hair and makeup. on the stage with their own glam squad who they're holding hands with or they're hugging, and their parents like, my kid is so shy. What is happening? And here's my kid on stage, and my gosh, and holding hands with this perfect stranger. And it's magic. It is magic.
I mean, obviously part of it is making sure that Special Beauty comes to all these different cities, right?
Right.
But where does it also become responsibility of fashion companies and beauty companies to implement this type of programming in their own brands and campaigns that we can see this in mainstream media?
Well, I'm always open for collaborations. So if there's ever a beauty school, if there's ever a group of makeup artists that want to help us out, I'm like, come on board.
Right.
Absolutely. We do have designers that are like, can I put you in one of my suits? And of course, and I'll wear the suit. And we have a shoe company that's like, can I give you guys some shoes? Of course you can. Yes. And so we basically take any help we can get. In Tokyo, we have a cookie store that wants to volunteer or that wants to help us out. And so they can't make a big donation, but they can give us a bunch of cookies. And the kids love to have these cookies in their swag bags.
Yeah.
So we work with whoever wants to work with us. And I would love to have a designer that would make Special Beauty clothes with like maybe a Special Beauty logo or their logo combined with our logo and make it into this brand. I would love that. I would love to have shoes and socks and underwear and tank tops and t-shirts and sweatshirts and pajamas. Like, I would love it. I would love that. So anybody who wants to collaborate, I'm 100% open to collaborating. And whatever they do, let's do it together.
Yeah.
Is my kind of philosophy.
Yeah, because I think like also like brands, they really also just need to meet grassroots organizations where they're at, right? Like I think that's when I think about impact, like there's so many times where for-profit companies, they go off and try to build their own thing. And I really believe that people who are interacting with the cause every single day, listening to people's stories is where real change is going to happen, right? And I mean, you have the show to literally show it.
Yeah. It's really interesting. We had a girl one year who, I didn't know this, but she, in question and answer, what is your dream? She grabbed the microphone and she said, my dream is to become a train conductor. And the MC was like, great, I think you're going to be a great train conductor. Good luck, I think you can do it. And then the parents later were like, what happened here today? And I was like, oh, thank you for coming. What do you mean? And they said, our daughter is so shy that when they're taking attendance at school, she can't even say here. Aww. And today on stage, she told everyone her dream in front of hundreds of perfect strangers in this beautiful theater. She told everyone her dream. And I just want to say, this is the magic of Special Beauty. If you give someone a place to shine, they will do it. If you believe that they can shine, or you believe that they are worthy to shine, they'll do it.
Well, it's also like it's creating this permission to embrace that everyone is a creative person. Everyone is an artist. And when we create our own stereotypes and labels for what an influencer is or what a model is, like that's where these limiting beliefs are created, right? But this Special Beauty is showing that anyone should be able to get up on a stage and share their dreams.
Exactly. I mean, I chased the spotlight for many years of my career, and that was, to me, success. But if I had known that it would be this gratifying to create a spotlight for someone else, maybe I would have started with that.
Yeah.
Because I love watching Special Beauty from the audience.
And I find that interesting because like I think sometimes we tell ourselves like, oh, what our light is, what our purpose is. And you almost had to find it in this very like roundabout way. And even in the book, The Artist's Way, which I also mentioned on this podcast a million times, it talks about shadow artists, right? And in a way that sometimes I think we use it to hide our own talents and beliefs. But why your story is interesting is it's actually what enhanced, like, I feel like your artistic career.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I feel like that my mentality towards sharing talents has also changed. I was such a perfectionist for so long.
Right.
I mean, I was training to become Simba.
Yeah.
So I need to get the notes perfect. I need to get the lines perfect. The choreography has to be flawless.
Why Simba?
That's a long story, but have you seen Lion King?
Of course.
Okay, you know the story.
Yeah.
It's just so beautiful in so many ways. So beautiful. And I was in Tokyo. I was working as a teacher in the countryside of Japan, and I came to Tokyo. So while I was a teacher, before I came to Tokyo, while I was a teacher, I was on TV once for the National Japanese Speech Contest for foreigners. So anybody who's not Japanese, who speaks Japanese, can enter this speech contest. And I was selected as a finalist to be in this speech contest, the national speech contest. And I won. I was the national champion. And so I was given the Foreign Prime Minister's Award, which is huge. It's like being given like the Presidential Medal of Honor. And I was, for a year, while I was still teaching, I was doing speaking engagements all over Japan as kind of this representative for like intercultural communications and cultural exchange. And I was in Tokyo, and I had about 6 to 8 months left of my contract. And it was kind of time for me to think about what I was going to do next. And I was in Tokyo. We got tickets for Lion King. I saw Lion King. And when Simba came on stage and he started singing, and like his story about like, you've forgotten who you are. You need to find who you are. Remember who you are. Make your family proud. Like all these messages just kind of like were pounding into me. And I was a dancer at the time, and I could sing and I could act. And I was watching this, and I was just overwhelmed with this feeling of, this is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to be on stage. This is your calling, is to be on stage. And I couldn't ignore it. And so I applied to a musical dance theater grad program with the intention of becoming Simba. And every time I saw the Lion King posters, I was like, that's me. That's going to be me. Next year, that's going to be my face on the poster. And, you know, I was training. I was doing ballet classes and tap dances and jazz classes every single day. Voice lessons 3 times a week, 4 times a week. And acting classes 10 times a week. Like I was preparing to become Simba. And of course, when I did finally get to the point where it was time for me to audition, and then they said, I'm sorry, it's not a talent thing, it's a looks thing. We can't put your face in the Japanese cast of Simba, of Lion King, because you stand out too much. We can't. It just won't look, the balance is off. We can't do it. Which at the time, it was a big shock, because for 2 years, I was every day eating, drinking, sleeping like Simba. I'm going to be Simba. I'm going to be Simba. And then it didn't happen, but I had gained all this experience of singing and dancing and acting. And so I kind of put it to other use, and I was able to do some amazing shows.
Yeah, but I feel like in a weird symbolic way, you did become Simba.
Why do you say that?
Because like you're talking about the message of Simba's character, and I feel like you have created that with Special Beauty and what you're doing now. Like it's not like I heard someone say, yes, everything I've manifested, I've gotten, but it's not in the exact way that I thought it would be. It came in like weird, like other forms. And I've noticed that too, ever since I've heard that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, just when you were sharing that, like, that's what came to me is like, well, you kind of did.
Well, so the company that produces Lion King in Japan, it's like one of their Broadway companies. And so as any musical dance theater actor, artist, Broadway is kind of, well, I think for many, it's the goal, it's the dream.
Right.
And I, worked towards being, a Broadway performer for the whole time of, being on stage. I was doing this show and that show and this show and that show. And I got some amazing opportunities. And just this March, I got a call from a producer and they said, we know it's last minute, but we just got the funding and it's a short run of a show that we've done like 10 years ago. Are you even interested in coming back and playing this part for 1 week? We have like 3 days of rehearsal and then 3 days of shows. And it's for, it's this show. And I'm like, okay. And they said, we've whittled down the cast. It's a 4-person cast. And it's a show about me. Like, so I headlined this character for 3 years. And then 10 years later, so in March of this year, they called me and they said, we're doing a new version of the show. Can you come back and do it? And I was like, got nothing better to do. So I did it. And as I was at the reading table, I looked around and at this table of the actors, there was one of the original Cats from the Japan Broadway production of Cats, one of the original Cats. I don't know if you know Cats very well.
I used to be obsessed with it as a toddler.
The black kitty that did all the fuertes, the spinning kitty.
Uh-huh.
The original, whatever that character is, was at the table. Next to him was one of the originals from Chorus Line.
Okay.
And then next to him was the original Iago from Aladdin in Japan. So I was the 4th person on this cast. I was the lead of the show. And I was the only one who wasn't officially in one of those Broadway shows. And so I sat there and the producer, the director, all of them were from Broadway shows. And I just thought, this is kind of like a Broadway debut for me because I'm headlining a show that's all these Broadway actors and me. Yeah. So it was kind of surreal to go full circle.
Yeah.
From like wanting to be Simba and then being in a show with actors who like one of the guys was actually Timon in Lion King. He's like, oh yeah, I did that show, 8 times a week for 6 years. And yeah.
No,
and then here's me.
Yeah, no, it's interesting that sometimes your dreams and your obsessions show up in a different form.
Absolutely. And you have to be open to a different version of success.
Right.
So if your only version of success is A, you will never be satisfied with B.
Well, you're setting yourself up for failure because it's never going to look exactly the way that you visualize. Like you can visualize, it's important. Manifestation's important, but it's never going to be the exact way you pictured it. It'll probably be better.
Or like in the long run, better for you than what would have been the actual achievement of that dream. Yeah. Which is exciting. I read an article once about a study done by Stanford University, and they
You're good. Oh, don't worry, ignore it.
But a study done by Stanford University, and they followed the success of new graduates for 5 years after graduation, for 5 years. And they said that it was for, I forgot how many years, but they talked to them about like visualization, and they had like 2 groups. And this group, they were told to visualize in their minds every morning them like putting in the work, like for whatever their goal was. If their goal was to lose weight, or their goal was to improve their golf score, if their goal was to do whatever, to like every morning for 5 minutes, visualize them putting in the work. So if it was to like get stronger, like visualizing themselves sweating out at the gym, visualizing themselves running, visualizing themselves eating differently. Or studying, like visualizing themselves writing, but like just visualizing it. And then the other group was told to 5 minutes a day, envision themselves at the finish line. So goal weight, or the goal job, or the goal test result, or whatever it was. So this group was the vision group, and this group was the finish line group.
Got it.
And they found that the group that had the most success was the group that was the visualizing group. They actually got further in their goals than the ones who just saw themselves at the finish line. So it's important to visualize yourself like putting in the work, because that's what's going to lead to success, I believe.
That's very insightful, I think, for the creative process, but also in the same way that we think about success versus failure, because they're in a lot of ways one and the same. So I can talk about that all day, but that's for next time when we do our other recording in Japan.
Yes.
At Special Beauty.
Well, Special Beauty, it's super fun. And I think if anyone wants to check us out, we have a really good website. We have a fun Instagram. And so if they want to check it out, they can see what's going on, because I post, and yes, it's me that's posting, but I post things about everywhere.
Yeah.
So Hong Kong, Tokyo, Okinawa, Osaka, and then, Utah, Idaho, Kansas City, LA, all the places.
Yes, and we're definitely going to share it below. Make sure you follow, and don't forget to sparkle on.
Sparkle on.